Today's Throw Together Thursday. It's kind of fun to say. All right, so I'm gonna do that preparation a second time because I learned a few things the first go around. And then I wanna do an experiment to see how that turns out. And I'll get back to you on that part. So the first thing, sorry about it, I'm still having to clear my throat after having COVID back in December. It's ridiculous, I know, but bear with me if you would. One day I'll get back to a real voice again and my kids will stop making fun of me because they think I'm putting on some sort of tough cowboy voice. Anyway, we'll get there. So, meanwhile, the first thing you need to know is that if you don't have enough bacon to wrap them all the way around using a full piece of bacon on each one, make less. It's necessary. I didn't like the texture of some of the shells where they didn't have bacon all the way around because the bacon and it helps to moisten the pasta and makes it just far more palatable. There's something about uncooked pasta that is just not that appealing. I know. We all like to kind of chew on a stick of spaghetti once in a while when it's, that's fine. But to do it and serve it as an appetizer, not so good. So make sure you use a full piece of bacon so you go all the way around and get plenty of moisture that's gonna soak in and soften up that pasta before you fire it up on the grill. The second thing, on that particular concoction that I did there, I went with cinnamon and that sort of thing because I had a sweet sausage that was in the mix. There was a chicken apple sausage, and I had a comment that there was just too much cinnamon. So two things around that. One, read the ingredients is in your sausage so that you don't end up overdoing stuff. And I think there was probably some cinnamon in the sausage to begin with. Second is, I'll show you this here in a little bit, but when you go to mix in your spices and you need a little bit of water in that mixture too, go ahead and throw the spices in the water so that it emulsifies throughout the mixture a lot better. It emulsifies and then mixes in well and adheres to every part of it. Because I think some of them had a little more cinnamon than others. And that's not what we're going for. We do want to have some sort of consistent quality around there. So today I'm using a different sort of sausage. I have a pork hot Italian sausage. I think that'll be just lovely in there. And the other experimental part that I'm gonna do today to change things around a little bit is I'm not gonna grind my beef a second time, just to see would the texture of that beef in there really have been a problem or not. So all I'm gonna do is kind of mix it all up. I am still using peppers because my garden, my aquaponic system is still pumping those out like crazy. And they're just a beautiful little pepper. Let me just show you what I've got here. This is called murasaki. I was told it was a purple pepper, and sometimes you can see a kind of a purplish color. As it goes from green, it starts to go purple. But then right away, it wants to start going red. And so you've got these beautiful ochre, orangey, full-on red, and there was one over here that was a real delight. Look at this one. It's got purple at the top, yellow in the middle, and orange on the bottom. That's just kind of fun. I enjoy variety in my garden, and murasaki, this has been a beautiful little pepper. I got it from rareseed.com. That's the Baker Creek organization there. They've got beautiful heirloom seeds of all sorts. Anyway, I suggest trying different sorts of peppers. They are sweet because the Erudite Cowboy doesn't really care for real hot stuff in his pie hole, as we discussed before. But anyway, there it is. I'm gonna go ahead and get these cut up. You don't have to watch the whole thing. So if I do happen to tape it, I will speed it up, but otherwise we'll just cut to the end product here in a little bit, because everything else is just the same. I'm gonna use the jerky shooter and stuff those shells and all those sorts of things, but we're gonna see how this one turns out, and I'll try to give my best comparison, remembering what the other ones were like. I'll have a couple of eaters there too who tried the other one and see what they think when we try these other ones tomorrow. See you in a bit. Oh, almost forgot to mention, since I'm not gonna be grinding everything up, that means that my little peppers are gonna come through in little chunks and such. They'll be kind of, I think it'll add a little more splash of a color. Of course, it's on the inside of the dish, so you're only gonna see it if you happen to bite into one. But I think that'll add to it anyway. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut these out into nice little rings and throw them in there along with the rest of it. they'll get broken up just a little bit from the mixing action, but they're not going to be chopped up and then run through a grinder. I found that what I thought I was going to gain with lots of little bits of color was not as distinct as I had wanted, because they were just tiny little pieces at that point. Another thing to think about. But here's the thing. I'm just going to show you kind of what I did and the liberty and the license I took with someone else's recipe. I hope that you'll do the same thing and come up with something special on your own. All right, so I've got a small amount of water here. Got my pepper from my pepper mill. I'll drop that in there. We get a few more red pepper flakes. The sausage I'm using obviously has red pepper in there because it's there you go, it's a spicy Italian. So I've got about a pound of beef in there, and I wanted to just buy 5 links because that's about half as much as I used in the other recipe, but it turned out to be 1 2/3 pounds. Those are some heavy links. So it's gonna be a little bit sausage heavy, and that's well spiced already. So I am gonna put a little bit of salt in there, and well, probably some garlic powder would be good. So I'll throw some of that in there. Maybe some onion powder as well. And let me see, you know what? Because it's Italian sausage, it's gonna be a barbecue thing, so I don't wanna go too crazy with all that, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw a little bit of oregano in there as well, because that's just a nice savory item that works nicely with all the rest of the flavors we got going on. So let me grab those things and put them in here. All right, so my garlic powder, that's from Kirkland Signature, right? So Costco, right? And how much am I putting in? Well, just take a look. Just as much as you think you'd use for a little bit of meat. Not a terrible amount. A little bit of that in there. All right. And my salt. Putting that much salt in. See? That's Celtic gray fine sea salt. Be right back. I was looking for the oregano, and I decided instead I would grab one of these. Sorry about that throat again. That's got a mixture of spices in there. Italian seasoning, they're calling it. I don't know if you can read closely enough what all's in there. It's just a mixture. And how much I'm gonna put in there? You know, herbs don't hurt anything. So I'm gonna put a little extra in there. Even though there's undoubtedly some in that sausage already, I'm really addressing the beef in this point, trying to make sure that it gets spiced up enough to where it tastes good too. Here's my peppers. I'm gonna toss those in there. And we're gonna get that mixture running, and that's when I'll start throwing in my herb mixture, which I'm gonna do my best to make sure that it all goes in as a liquid and kind of carries the spices with. I'll get back to you on how that works. Hoping it works well. So there's everything in the mixing bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and get that started up. Got the little lever here to bring it into play. Let's just see what happens with it for a little bit. Just kind of let it mix about a little bit. Get the sausage and the beef married. That's a good word for it. Kind of marry them a little bit. There you go. See how it's wanting to kind of pull up into a ball now? Now we need to break up that action a little bit. So we're going to bring this in. Give her a little pour. Oh, if you could smell this. All that garlic and that oregano. It's smelling nice. Let's dump the rest of this in there. I see how you can still see little pieces of pepper in there. The chili peppers. I think that's gonna be fine. That's gonna be nice. what I wanted. So now at this point you can see that it's kind of well mixed for the most part, but some of it's just not playing well with the rest. So what I'm going to do is get in there with a wooden spoon. Little wooden spoon time. Bring that down, shut her off, and we're going to go ahead. Physically change its attitude. Now I'm liking the texture and the consistency of it. See how it wants to kind of pull together? That's nice. I was thinking I might need a little more water in here, and I could do a little more water. But it looks like it really has enough at this point. A little more water would just cook off, and that's not a problem. Would also be soaked up by the manicotti shell a little bit. But we don't have to worry about that. If I like it, I can leave it. I think that'll work just the way it is. Let's get to stuffing. I'll throw a little bit of oil in there. That's just olive oil. We like olive oil for all kinds of stuff. It's a good idea. And just because I'm holding the camera in one hand and I've got the meat, about 1/3 of a tube in here already, I'm gonna go ahead and just leave that in there. Just shoot it down in here. Don't make comments about what it looks like. Kids. All right, so I've mostly cooked off the meat. Let's grab a nice little piece of it, and taste it, and see what we think. Burn my fingers. Ouch. Tastes about like you'd expect it. A little bit of fire at the end, plenty of sweet at the beginning. And the texture on that beef is just fine. I didn't need to run it through the grinder again. Now the tool I've been using is this here LEM Jerky Gun. I bought it some years ago, but they're still available. I'll put a link in the description. And again, get your meat in there, your mixture. Wrong spoon. Another one. Oh yeah. Going with something a little smaller, because I think I'll be able to control what I'm doing here a little bit better. See? Get her in there. Oh, what kind of barbecue sauce am I using? Let me show you. I was at Sprouts earlier this week, and they had these buy one, get one free. And I have to tell you something about barbecue sauce. That's my favorite flavor. Buy one, get one free. Anyway, I got a bourbon, because I know my son enjoys the whiskeys. And so I think that might be a good flavor. And then I've got a spicy, because that's what I used last time, was a spicy one. And it turned out okay. But then I didn't have any other spice really in it. It was very mild. A little bit of chili pepper flakes in there. It was mostly sweet and that sort of thing. Sweet and spicy do work well together. So in this case, I thought I'll try both kinds. And when I go and I dress them up at my son's house later today, when we cook these, we'll just do half of them one way and half the other way, and I'll get back to you and tell you which one worked out best. Okay, so I got my tube of meat filled. I'm gonna go and screw this gun together like so. Grab a manicotti shell. Remember, these are really brittle, so we're gonna try and not shove it in there, because it will crack that end all up. So what I find is that I'm gonna get it in there just enough to where I feel like I got a good seal. Then I'm gonna take my hand around and hold the whole thing so it's steady, so I can give all the pressure that I need with the gun to get everything up in there without putting pressure on the edges of that delicate little piece of pasta. So there you go, look at that. Stuff's nice and easy. Now I do want it fully stuffed, so I'm putting my thumb over the end and I'm coming until the gun wants to push out. There you go. That's what I'm looking for right there. I'll just set those in a bowl and we'll come back and we'll do our bacon on them. Some of you might wonder why I've gone and done this preparation two different ways. I haven't given you any measurements on anything either. Why am I not being nicer about that and telling you exactly how to go about doing it? Maybe you've even seen, maybe you have even seen the video that I got the inspiration for these recipes from. And that's great if you have. You'll find that what I'm doing here does not look like what he did over there. I mean, the end product looks fairly similar, but it's not following his, air quotes, recipe. The reason why is that I'm really trying to reach out to the cowboys and cowgirls who don't know how to cook very well, or have never really tried it before, and they're intimidated by the whole process. I want you to be able to look at things that you see and you like, recipes and videos on YouTube, whatever it is that you enjoy, or maybe on TV, because lots of people cooking there, and look at it and say, I like what this person's doing, that looks good, but I want to make it mine. That's what I'm trying to do for you. I'm trying to demystify it a little bit. You don't have to do exactly what they're doing. Do what looks good, what sounds good to you, and use the ingredients that you have. I don't grow jalapenos. That's why I use Murasaki chili peppers. The first variation of this recipe, I used a chicken apple sausage. I think that's what they called it. Chicken apple, none of that was in the original recipe that I looked at, but it's what was on sale, and that's what I wanted to get. Now, today, the recipe that I'm doing with the hot Italian sausage, that was also on sale at my grocer. I shop at Sprouts quite a bit. I like the product that they turn out, and when they knock their sausages down a couple pounds, a couple dollars a pound, then I go ahead and that's what I get. And that's the way I go about designing a menu. And we'll talk about that another time. But for this recipe, I think this is going to work out just fine. And if it doesn't, I won't do it again. Nah, I probably won't do it again anyway, because next time there'll be other ingredients that are available. But I can tell you this, I'll be doing shotgun shells again, because this is kind of a fun little recipe. Anyway, I'll get back to you when I do the bacon. I think Mrs. Cowboy's hearing's starting to go. The other day she was in the kitchen. She was at the stove behind me there, the back turned to me, and I said, honey, no reaction, nothing. She didn't hear a thing. I tried a little louder. Darling, nothing, no reaction. She just kept on cooking like she was, just didn't hear a thing. So finally I got up real close behind her and said, sweetheart. She turns around and says, for the third time, what do you want? Thought you might enjoy that. Now I bought a bunch of this bacon. Mrs. Erudite Cowboy was like, would you slaughter a whole pig? All that bacon? Well, I didn't, but it was on sale. $3.99 a pound. I want to buy a little extra, because normally it's about $6 a pound. So a couple dollars off, that's a bargain. That way I can have it in my freezer. Bacon freezes just fine. And then next time I want to do a dish like this, I'll already have it on hand. So I'll make it nice and easy. So it is a thick cut bacon, hickory smoked. See that? And it's got a lot of lean in there. Plenty of meat in there. So I'm gonna pick these up one at a time. Just start at one end. I'll roll them about to the other end. And then what you can do is kind of twist it on there a little bit. Bacon will stretch a little bit. Make sure that you get all of the manicotti covered. That's how I'm gonna do them, all of them, just like that. That's gonna be good. What? Horizontal.
This is a beautiful camera, by the way. Okay, I gotta stop talking.
It is.
All right, come
come on in and show the stars of the show. You don't really need to be seeing me. Now we're gonna go with Blues Hog for the last bunch here. Oh, baby, that's probably a pretty good recommendation, man. Because that is some sticky barbecue sauce. Let me just tell you, that's gonna adhere nicely and create a nice juicy crust on there. This little bit I got in there. Okay, so now that just needs about 5 or 10 minutes in there just to set that on there, and we can eat them. We'll check them out in just a minute.
Nope, restart.
Okay, so we got shotgun shells here with 3 different barbecue sauces. They should turn out great anyway, but this way we can kind of compare the barbecue sauce on them too. That's the bourbon. Here's the spicy. Don't they just look great? Oh, no, can't take 2 at a time. Apparently that's beyond my capability. And then, blues right here. Got the blues. That was a suggestion to my son from somebody he works with.
Now we have labels.
I hope you learned something from that. I hope that you try to make your own version, and I hope that you really enjoyed watching my video today. So let me leave you with some cowboys. Be experimental, be tasteful, and above all, be erudite. Oh yeah, and like and subscribe, of course, right?